Something is for sure. We are eternal.
Hey, Composer Gloves here, and this is a sound demo video for Ghost Rider East West. So something I always like to do when I get a new thing is just kind of dig through the sounds and see what we can get out of it. You know, what kind of cool things are in here. We're just going to be looking at the guitars only, and we're going to mess with some of the filters and additional effects in here and just see what they sound like, see if this is something you'd be into. So let's start off with the acoustic guitar compressed. Oh, and this is something, if you've never had an East-West library before, there are folders within folders within folders. Something that I'm not too excited about. I do not think it's intuitive at all when you're trying to find your sounds. The way they've set this up, I just don't like it. Just don't. It's super annoying because I want a guitar, I want an acoustic guitar. Then all of a sudden there's all these acoustic guitars, and I click that and there's more acoustic guitars. And a lot of this is because each patch is sort of got its own specialty. So if you're going to do MIDI composition with these things, you're going to have to put them all right in an order, all nice and neat, and it just gets complicated. So I'm running it in standalone mode so that we get whatever default MIDI mappings they have, which are not usually the mod wheels to volume, and that's almost it. There's nothing really else. You have to do the rest yourself, which is another kind of bummer. There's nothing that's been kind of pre-laid out for you, but that's okay. That's not a huge deal. This is we have an acoustic guitar compressed. My MIDI keyboard's missing the last octave, so I have to click if I want to switch key switches. Nothing in the mod wheel. I mean, we have the pitch wheel. So that's that. Let's see what other sounds we have on this. Oh, I always dig these types of things. Let's go and link up the filter. MIDI learn the filter, and let's link up the. Let's just let's switch our reverb to something big, like a large church. So that's pretty cool. Some neat effects. I like the reverb. They have nice reverb, so that's kind of nice. This is a round robin one, so this one might sound more realistic. So I like these. These sounds are always useful. They're just nice for layering. You could easily filter and reverb them. Ooh, even delay them. Oh, that's interesting. We should probably turn our delay time up. So that's kind of cool. Neat sounds. Let's go over here to these crystal guitars. A lot of these sound very similar after that. It's sort of just, which is kind of nice. It's nuanced to what you want in your track. If you're looking to write a guitar solo as like a main guitar thing though, this might be the thing you're looking for. I doubt it will sound, unless you're like amazing at MIDI composition and you're all into that kind of a thing, then you might be able to work some magic. Now these, one thing you'll notice is there are like no chord patches, and that's a bummer. You can't make chords. You can write out solos and things, and you could probably sell it for what it sounds like it should be written for, but there's not really anything that's really all that great for strumming and things like that. So here we go, we're loading up another patch. See, something like this might work out. And I'm playing like a keyboard player, so it's like, it's not exactly sounds like a guitar in that respect. Let's switch keys. Let's try another sound. So you can see these are really usable sounds. We have a big range, which is always nice. I love these. I love that. I just love that kind of stuff. So that's cool. Let's see what else we have here. We have a sustained vibrato round robin. So they've got round robins. I just don't. There are a lot of other samplers out there though, where a lot of these patches will be in one patch and it will be intuitive with how you play the instrument, which is something that I've grown kind of used to with the. This is more recent though. Sample libraries being able to have this kind of flexibility, and this product is. It's only, I believe, it's a few years old. So, yeah. I'm used to just having everything be in one patch as opposed to having to flip through patches sort of like this. And normally there's like a strumming mode, which I really dig. But I like the sounds the sounds they have sound great. Let's see what else. That's nice. So short little things too. We have a harps-like guitar. Let's put that up. Ooh, kind of a folk feel. I get the sensation that there's a filter on my sound, but there's not. But I feel like there is. Just how they recorded it, I guess. Which is nice. It gives it that kind of feel. I like the reverb they have by default that loads up on some of these. I'm not sure if they're actually changing the reverb in the player. Yeah, they are. So these are their harp-like sounds. We have, let's check out what this one sounds like. Oh, this is a much cleaner sound. So let's go. Oh, the no attacks. I think these are pretty dope. I like these. It's almost like an organ, only it was a guitar. Let's look at our spacey guitars. We have a staccato. Let's see what that sounds like. That's pretty cool. Let's go over here to some other types of guitars. So once again, we're entering the world of folders, which, I mean, you get used to it after a while, but it's just not. I just don't like it. Or I guess I'd be okay with this if it was in the player view as like a separate like a extra menu popped up here that I could just go through and not have to leave my interface, so that I don't have to go browse and then go back and then browse and go back. That, I guess that's my main annoyance, is that having to change menu thing right there. This is something you'd probably want to amp up further. I guess like that. I've never been huge fans of these kinds of sounds. I don't know, maybe you're a big fan of this type of stuff, but sampling it, I just find doesn't work out that well most of the time. Now, there is one library out there that I've seen called Shreddage, and it's really cool because they velocity mapped the pluck, so as you hit it harder. I don't know the official term because I'm not a guitar player, which is kind of embarrassing, I suppose. But I forgot what it's called. Mute? They palm mute it harder? I don't know. I probably sound like a moron right now. But whatever. It's way more intuitive how you play it is the point. That's the point. So. See, this one's kind of okay. I kind of like this one. But as you see, the things don't flow like it's clearly been chopped. So I don't know, just not the most. That's kind of a nice sound. I've seen reviews where people only say nice stuff about their things, and if they are mean a little, it's like barely. I don't even know. I don't know if they're getting paid to say what they say, but these kinds of sounds, I'm not sold by them. I'm just not. But see, this sound, this one's one that I would use. This one I could see using in a track. I could use these maybe if I'm looking for something to layer, but as like a sound, a feature, and I want to start with that sound. Not so. These are like layer sounds. So, I mean, you can find uses. It's not hard to find uses for these things because they've made them in a way that you could layer them, but I wouldn't use them as main sounds. But this thing, like, you could. And throw some drums on that, and maybe put a amp on your rack in your mixer chain, like an amp simulator, and because it's already been amped, but you could mix it a little bit so that it has some real-time effect processing to sell the effect a bit more, and then you EQ it into your song. It probably wouldn't be very noticeable. That's another thing that goes a long way, is just how you do your post-processing. If you post-process these sounds correctly, you could have some real-time effects that would make it sound a lot more real, because they change quite a bit more every time if you have a good amp sim. Yeah, let's change. Let's go over here. We have Marshall Heavy. Let's just do the key switch one on this one. Oh, these are just key switches? Oh, there we go. I don't know. Those are interesting. Roland double baritone, Roland double tracked. We have chugs. Oh man, I dig chugs. I'm hitting my key softer, but it sounds every bit as loud. So I don't think these have velocity mapping. And the mod wheel doesn't do anything. So that's the thing. You probably have to velocity map your volume on your channel if you want to control how loud those are. Because when you're doing chugs, I mean, it's kind of important to have big velocity differences, but those also change a lot with the timbre too. So it's kind of hard to sell one when it's got a static one velocity layer like that. When I say velocity, I don't mean volume, even though I was talking about volume earlier. I mean like how they pick it differently each time. It creates that rhythm, but this is, see if you could play them and they sound pretty real. I like this. I like these. These are cool. So let's see what we got over here. That's pretty cool. I dig it. I digs it. Do you guys dig it? I don't know. Oh, that's pretty, what do you say, grimy? Nah, that's corny. I could work as a layer. Actually, you know what? Let's go over here to this last one. So chances are in here, these are kind of my first looks at these, just first impressions. You'll find something that will work for your track. I feel like you could end up compromising somewhere along the lines though, but obviously having a real guitar player is the best. So let's see here. Oh, these are nifty. I'm mostly an EDM producer, so I'm looking at this from like, could I use this in an EDM track mostly? But I write all genres of music, and most of the stuff is just because I don't have access to the sounds that I need. And this is a library I'm hoping will open up some doors for that in that respect. But a lot of these things I could see using an EDM track quite easily. Got the hammer. See, these are all in separate. See how these are all in separate patches, and I just don't dig that. They got the key switches. That's kind of nice. It's okay. I'm not super crazy about that Leslie sound. We got delays on these presets. Let's see. I could see writing some ska. Write some ska with that. Let's go to another guitar. Let's go to the EBO. The EBO. That's what it's spelled. These are always so interesting. It'd be nice if you could go in and edit the samples, but you can't. You could do post pretty much exclusively, but you can't go in at the raw sample level. So that's a bit of a bummer. Interesting. We got our Les Paul hard amp. There's a lot of stuff, which I think is like one of their selling points is look at all this stuff you get. But at the same time, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that is not very, I mean, you have to do a lot of digging to get to know your sounds. And that's just not so cool by me, man. I just want something that I don't care if it's one patch and it has the same amount of stuff, but it can do all of this much more intuitively. To me, that's just more useful. This idea though came out way before It was one of the breaking leading edge ideas. So maybe their more recent libraries incorporate things a bit more intuitively. Yeah, nope. Let's see what this sounds like. Let's go to a round robin. So let's go. So that's our, let's do a soft amp. We have our chugs. Once again, I find that when I hit the key, it just stays at the same chug, which is not that great, in my opinion. Maybe your opinion is different. And when I get patches like this, I'm always like kind of like, this is great, but playing it as a single patch just does not make that much sense. If I were able to put it so that it was like an aftertouch thing on my MIDI keyboard, which I suppose I could do through quite a bit of setup, or if I were able to just say, like in the sampler itself, hey, when I hit this key at this velocity level, do that, that would be great too. I'm not aware of a way to do that yet because I'm brand new at this, but if there is a way to do that, let me know. Otherwise, this whole setup, once again, doesn't make too much sense, and having to open a whole separate channel just for that. And I know they've got this like you can add multiple instruments and then do stuff, but yeah, just first impressions off of someone who's like never used this or used it a little, not just no extensive use on this. Kind of get going. Have the drums come in, like big cinematic drums, or we could do just like, you know, rock drums. Those are nice too. Dun 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 dun. Power chords. I found retriggering power chords just ruins their sound. You gotta switch up chords. It's kind of like, you gotta think about how the guitar player would play it, obviously. We have modulated. Let's see what kind of modulation they're talking about. Let's see what this one sounds like. I mean, if you're writing like an ethnic track, I think this would be more useful in an ethnic track. Let's see. I've been kind of staying in the same key this whole time, but that's just because I have a big microphone right in front of me while I'm playing the keyboard. So it's kind of just an uncomfortable position. See, that's just weird. Sounds like a bagpipe to me. That's what that sounds like. That sounds like not a good impression of a bagpipe. It just reminds me of a bagpipe. Oh man, drop some like heavy crap bass on that jazz and throw down the drum beat, and we got ourselves drum and bass. Like having it be all low and ambient. Oh yeah, let's see what this power chords ambient swells. Something I've also, the way the power, I don't know, never mind. I'm not even gonna talk about that. I changed my mind. Here we have some more chugs. Once again, single velocity mapped, but they've got round robins on these. Let's see what this sounds like. All right, I'm kind of done with Les Paul. Well, we have a DI, so these are supposed to be the clean sounds. So you can amp them yourself. Replace all. Yeah, so you could amp those yourself if you're into that. And here we have folders inside folders, and then we get our sounds again. Let's see. Oh my. So these have quantization error on, well, I guess it's not error if it's on purpose, but I'm assuming these are at low bit depths because it's lo-fi. Swells. Let's see what we got over here. So you have a lot of useful sounds. I don't know if I'd call this the end of guitar samplers. Like, oh, I don't need to buy another guitar sound. I think I still need more sounds. I don't think it's a sample thing either. I think it's just an implementation thing. Just an implementation thing. That's all it is. I don't want any more slides. I'm tired of slides. Oh man, that is something you would hear in the movie theater on like their hard track. It's something I've really noticed on a lot of movie tracks. When I hear things like that, it sounds like they use something like this to do it. They probably got a real guitar player though, so it sounds quite a bit more varied, which to us sounds better. Or a Halo track. Here we have a Halo thing. And then you have some drums. Playing these as solo instruments isn't necessarily the best representation of them, but when you're composing, this is what you start with. Unless you start with like your drums or something, but eventually at some point you're going to hear these sounds individually. Let's see what else. We have a nasal guitar. I'm going to start wrapping it up here. Yeah. I could see using that. I could see that. Let's see. If anyone has some techniques they like to use when they're combining these things, like setups they have, maybe a template that you like to use that you've set up. Oh, I load up play with these patches because I know that they work well when I have to flip through MIDI channels. Or if you have a particular set of add channels that you like to set up. Anything that'd be useful for someone who is rather new and has never done maybe any MIDI composition and wants some workflow techniques. I have some ideas about how I would combine things. Like, I just go through and addition sounds until, oh, that's kind of nice. Addition sounds until I find something that I think would work well together. But that's like a super vague, like no dir, like I would do that too kind of thing. So not exactly the most specific advice. I'm starting to get a feel of what they consider to be spacey. I'm not sure I agree with it. mean, I agree with the reverb perspective, but their distorted stuff, it's like I don't know. I like that sound. Something I would probably do is I'd record the notes that I need, and then I'd fade in and out of the actual note, maybe using a filter or something. Maybe not that quick, but I'm not a huge fan of their attack sounds. So that's the thing that I think would help what I would use in my composition. These are cool. These are fun to mess with. Just fun things. For sounds like this, though, I would prefer to have them in a browser that I could just drag and drop the sample, because I'm not gonna like trigger it from my MIDI keyboard. I'd rather just have the straight up audio. But they've made their, I don't know if I've tried getting to the original WAV files, and they've made them as east-west encoded files. I'm not sure if I can just rename the extension .wave and then use it. But if anyone knows, let me know, because there's another thing I don't like is you can't get to the original sample data, which is like annoying. And then if you buy the whole sample library, is it like that? Or because I'm on the rental deal right now. So, but I want to know, like, if I buy the library, like as the platinum edition, or well, I'm not sure Ghostwriter has a platinum edition, but if I spend the money for the whole thing as like a I own this type deal instead of I'm renting this for my productions, and when my license is up, I'm all done. Do I get the original sounds? That would be a buying decision, because I would definitely hate to have to come in here and do crap like this when I could just use my DAW's internal, look for my sound type deal. Because these are neat sounds. I just don't want to access them like this. The instruments, I would die if I had to access them through that way, though. So I'd prefer to have them in here like this, this makes a lot of sense. But when they have those cool out there sounds, it's nice to have them as separate things. I like that. Let's see what the modulated chime sounds like. Let's just do vibrato. I don't know what FF stands for. This sounds like a lot of old tracks that I've heard, so that could be useful. Finally, we're getting near the end here. Let's see what else we have. That's cool. That's a cool effect. Their key switch sounds very similar. I can hear like an EQ maybe is the only difference. I mean, I'm sure maybe it's an entirely different sample. Here are our major chords. Oh, I bet this just lets you flip through the different chords. That's a nice option. I dig that. Let's go again with the spacious. So they do have these master patches, which solve some problems, but yeah, the master patches are nice. Whoops, nope, I want the master patch, which has the key switches available to you. And then finally we have these sort of, I guess they didn't fit in any one of their categories. So. And I feel like someone just ripped the high end right off of my, sounds like it's going through a cabinet, Leslie guitar filtered. So I guess they say that in the name, but you can't vary it. Some of these, they just have nice sounds. They're just nice like that. And this one, they're not greedy in the spectrum, so you could add a lot of instruments or voice or whatever. Unlike this thing. Yeah, hitting repeating notes and this like up and down like I just did. I don't know. I don't like the way the feel it gives. You got the same thing, only the swells. So it'll have some sort of vibrato thing. That's interesting. I don't hear anything on this. Oh. If I hit it really hard, I hear something. Then you got patches like that. I feel like some of these patches are just filler. Nothing wrong with that, just being creative when you're making it. This is something that like you'd have to be, I don't know, not super intuitive, but you can tell that that sound is a sound you've heard places. Yeah, cool stuff. So that's the guitars in here. Maybe these are something you're looking for. Guitar libraries are something I've sought out, and I don't feel like this is exactly the answer if you're looking for a guitar library that's going to do what you want, especially by the lack of strumming that is in this library. There's literally no strumming, so that might be a deal breaker for you. Now they do have separate stuff for the bass. Let's go ahead. Let's just go through the bass real quick too. These count. That's pretty cool. I always dig the basses more, almost like universally. They just like, I don't know, they just have something special about bass guitars. Let's go to the Spectre bass, and let's go to the deep grunge. Got that slide in there. That's kind of cool. See, they have the slides on separate patches. It'd be cool if you hit it, and then if you hit another sample like to there and you slid, then it would slide there. And you might be saying, well, how the heck would you do that? Trust me, it's possible. there are several contact libraries that have that capability. So this is some of the thing. Again, I've said this like way too much in this, but once again, it'd be nice to have them all just bang, right there, more intuitively mapped out. So when you play them, they're just that more real. I'm not sure. Never mind. So those are your bass guitars. The guitars, I like the bass. I'd use all of these. The guitars, there are quite a few patches that I'm not sure I'll ever touch in like a track. If I have other options available, I just don't see a reason to go to all the extra hassle to use those sounds. But maybe this is something that you've been looking for. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Any suggestions, drop those in the comments. And have a blessed day.
Opposing wolves. Reversing.